Hi everybody, this is Darren from Save the Panel. I'm not sure if anyone's noticed this, but there were a couple of announcements recently about Shelly IoT devices and security challenges with the latest version of Gen 4. We're going to talk about that here for a few minutes and try to decide, is this really real? Is this a real vulnerability, or is this just, well, as one of my friends would call it, a nothing burger? Let's get into it. So what exactly is the issue that has these security researchers all up in arms? Simply it is that on these types of Shelly devices, when you apply power to them, by the default, they turn on an access point. That access point broadcasts, you can attach to it with your mobile device or your laptop, and then once you attach to it, you can configure the device from there. And what they don't like about that is, in some cases, that default access point remains open and does not turn off or disable itself automatically once the device is configured. And the bad thing about that is, if that device, that access point is left open and anyone within earshot of your Wi-Fi network can just attach to it, well, not only will they be able to configure the device and control, that device itself, maybe turn your light off and on, open your garage door, etc., but those devices have a lot of functionality. You'll be able to actually issue commands over your network to other devices on that network from that web interface. You can write scripts and do other actions that will impact more than just that one device itself. So it becomes a great jumping off point to attack the rest of your network. However, there's more than one way to configure a Shelly device. So if you, for instance, use the Shelly app, say via Bluetooth, the app will by default want to disable that AP, unless of course you force it to remain enabled. So it does protect itself in that case. It also will turn off that AP if you join it via Matter or via Zigbee. It's only that one particular configuration case that I can see, which is when you're manually configuring the AP here from the web interface and you neglect to turn it off. However, if you do neglect to turn it off, it does give you a warning that, hey, you don't have a password here on this AP. You should do something about it. So let's take a closer look at this hands-on from the test bench. I'm going here into my drawer of Shelly goodies, and I guess we'll pick on a Shelly 1 Gen 4 that I happen to have here, and we'll power it up with 12 volts and see what that out-of-box experience is like, and see if we can see what the security researcher was actually talking about. We'll also take a look at ways that you can scan your own home to find if you have any of these devices that are misconfigured, as well as ways to secure the devices during install in the first place. So now that we've powered up that device with 12 volts, we can see that we do have the AP there broadcasting, and we've clicked on it, and we've got an IP address. We're ready to go. All right, now that we are connected to the Wi-Fi network for the Shelly directly, let's just connect into it with the web browser. 192.168.33.1 is the default address, and there it is. So this is a brand new device out of the box. As you can see, we didn't need any authentication. There was nothing special. We just attached to the Wi-Fi and went there. So if you are configuring your device this way, and let's say you just go into settings, and go into Wi-Fi and attach this to your Wi-Fi network, what will happen is that AP that we just used would stay on by default. And that is what is giving the security researcher heartburn. So what do you look for? How do you protect yourself, and what do you look for? Well, what you first look for is these icons on the top. This one right here, means the AP is enabled. So if you see that, you have the AP in your individual Shelly device enabled. People can connect to it directly. So at that point, you might need to say, well, let's go into that access point right here under network settings. And yeah, sure enough, it's enabled. This is the broadcast SSID, and it's not password protected. This is a bad thing in production, right? So you're either going to want to disable this completely once you have it properly configured, or if you really want to use this access point, you certainly can. It's an awesome feature, but I would recommend changing the SSID and also giving it a strong password. Then you're protected from the vulnerability that is in the article. The other step that I might recommend is to password protect your Shelly devices. So if you go to settings and you scroll down to authentication, you can enable a password on your Shelly device, which no matter how it's being connected to, whether it's Wi-Fi or Home Assistant, whatever you're using, it's going to stop and ask for a password. And what's really nice is, especially if you're using Home Assistant and you're attaching to these things via Wi-Fi, is Home Assistant, you can have them set up already, add this password later, and then eventually Home Assistant's going to pop up in notifications and just simply prompt you for the password. So it's very easy to use. So let me just set up a quick password here. Uh, I love Z-Wave. I know it's not Z-Wave, but I gotta get my Z-Wave points in where I can. So if I save this, so now immediately it comes back and says, "Oh wait, you want to access me? I need a password." So I'm going to type in that password, and now I am back into the device. So I would say two things to do for all of these devices if you're accessing them with Wi-Fi is to set a password and also make sure after you've configured it the way you want to turn off this AP. So in this example, I don't have any configuration other than the AP to access it, but let's say I set up I'll set up my Wi-Fi here. This is my Internet of Things network. We drop its password in here and save it. And eventually up top here, you'll see we'll get our new network address from our Wi-Fi. There it is. So it's 192.168.177. Let's copy that for giggles. And we're going to go into settings and we're going to go ahead eventually and disable this access point. But first off, let's connect to the new address. And I did. I'm connected, and I got to put in my password, of course. And here we are. So now on this tab, I'm connected via the new Wi-Fi connection, and over here I'm connected to the AP. Well, we no longer need that AP. So let's via the Wi-Fi connection, we're going to go to settings. We're going to go to access point. We're going to disable that and save it. So now we can still connect via 177, but if we try to go in now through 33.1, we are going to spin. This is stuck in the browser's cache. It's really not rendering a page. If we were to try that again here, it will just not load because that access point is now disabled. Those are the things that I would look out for on your Shelly devices. Now, as far as being able to find these in your home, simply walk around with a laptop. Look for any wireless networks that start with Shelly. And if they're networks that you're not expecting to see, you probably have a few that might have been missed. Now, I need to also say that this is one specific way of configuring a Shelly device. If your device was set up via the Shelly app, it will by default turn off that AP. There is a way, of course, to do it and leave it enabled, but by default it will disable it. Also, if you configure this device as Matter or as Zigbee, it will also automatically turn off that AP. And I have to say that the Shelly folks have responded pretty quickly. If you follow the Facebook group here, they talked about, how do you guys want the logic? So they're asking the user community, how should we change this access point behavior in the product? They laid out a few options here which you can read through, and they actually have a voting system put up with some comments. And this is just fantastic, right? I applaud them for not just making unilateral decisions, but really asking the community what makes sense in this case. So, in summary, what do we have here exactly? I believe we've got a word of caution more than an absolute catastrophe of a vulnerability with the Shelly device itself. It is a reminder to everyone to properly configure your devices, to double check that you've properly configured your devices. Maybe get your laptop out, do a sweep of the environment, and make sure you have no APs broadcasting that start with the word Shelly. If you do, you missed one. So I think this comes down to being a responsible home automation installer, whether you're doing it for yourself as a DIYer in your home or you're a pro. Just double check your work. It's part of your responsibility. So while I was in the process of creating this video, this article came out and Shelly did respond. And I'll just read from this article. And these are the words of Shelly. The reported behavior concerns the device's Wi-Fi access point mode. This is not a vulnerability, backdoor, or unauthorized access mechanism. It is an intended installation feature present since Gen 2 devices, designed to simplify deployment and configuration, especially in multi-device installations. They go on to say that basically that it is deliberate, but in an upcoming firmware release, it will reduce the likelihood that the access point remains active. Um, and right here's the detail there. If no password is configured, the device AP will automatically disable after 15 minutes. If the device has Wi-Fi credentials configured, the AP will not start again after a restart unless the customer performs a factory or network reset. So Shelly has closed that door, so to speak. But I do agree there is some debate whether this is really a vulnerability or just a misunderstood feature. I just underscore again, if we're installing these things, whoever the installer is has a responsibility to understand what they're installing, how it integrates with the rest of their environment, and do a good job at securing everything while they're doing the installation. So in closing, I'd recommend that everyone do the following things. Check for broadcasting SSIDs that start with the word Shelly to see if you've missed any devices that need securing. Set an authentication password for all of your devices, regardless of how they are connected. If you are using the AP in production, set a password for that network and change its SSID. If you're not using the AP, of course, disable it. And most importantly, upgrade to the newest firmware as soon as it's available to keep your device secure. I appreciate you joining me today for this adventure and thought exercise into this particular vulnerability. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have a comment, please leave it below. And if you are so inclined, please subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.